Good morning, students. Welcome to the next session of our subject, that is Railway and Harbour Engineering. In this, we have started our unit number 1, and in the last session, we have started discussing the last bit of this particular unit, that is wears, which are going to occur on the rails, and last but not the least is about the points and the crossings. So let us take a recap of the previous session, which we have discussed earlier in our previous session. What is wear on the rails? So everyone knows what is the wear. It is nothing but the deformation which is going to occur due to the action of load, or it may be some stresses are get induced on a railway track, or maybe on the locomotives, whatever it may be. Okay, so due to the stresses, due to the action of the load, there is a deformation of that particular structure. It may be the rail, or it may be the flange of your wheel section. Okay, so that is nothing but the wears which is going to be occurred, which is occurred on the rails also. So in case of the rails, we have started our discussion when the axle loads are heavy. When the axle loads are heavy and the train moves very fast. If the speed of the train is very fast, then the stresses which are get induced, these are exceeding the elastic limit. These are exceeding the elastic limit, which causes the metal flaw. Okay, so when your train is just moving very fastly on a track, as the speed of the train is more stresses are get induced, and due to this there will be more wear of that particular rail. खूप जास्त प्रमाणामध्ये झीज होणार आहे तुमच्या रेल्वेच्या ट्रॅकची. का? कारण तेवढ्या हायर स्पीडने तुमची ट्रेन त्या ट्रॅकवरनं ट्रॅव्हल करणार आहे. ठीक आहे. So that point we have started on the discussion. Then we have discussed the classification of the wear. It is based on the location. So based on the location, we are having the wear which is going to occur on the rail, that is on the sharp curves due to the action of centrifugal force. Then on the gradients, it is due to the extra force that has been applied. So when your train is just flying a rising gradient, okay, if it is traveling through a rising gradient, what you are going to observe, it requires more hauling capacity, it requires more power to take that train from the descending gradient towards the ascending gradient. To travel that slope, it requires more power. So again, if more power is required, more friction will be there, more stress get induced, and that causes the wear. Then on the approaches to the station, when brakes are frequently applied. So when your train is just coming to the railway platform or any of the railway station, the driver of the train is going to apply the brakes. And due to the action of the application of the brakes, there is a wear which can occur. Why? Due to the friction of the flange of your wheel section and the side of your rail, or the friction which is going to be caused due to the your wheel and the top surface of your rail. Okay, then next category we have discussed, that is wear based on basis on the position of the wear. Okay, classification of wear based on its position. So where it actually occurs, कुठे occur होऊ शकतो wear? So wear can occur on the top or on the head side of your rail. It will occur at the end, or that is at the bottom portion of your rail, or it will occur at the sides of your head. Okay, so that is the wear or the types based on the position. Okay, so in case of the wear which is going to occur on the top side of your rail, it is due to the metal flaw. As I told you, if any train is moving with a very fast speed, more stresses are getting induced, and due to which there is a metal flaw due to the action of heavy load. Then abrasion of the rolling wheels. Next reason, constant brake applications, fluctuations in the gradient. That means in some part it is traveling through the ascending gradient, in some region it is traveling through the descending gradient, in some part it is traveling through the rolling terrain, in some part it is passing through the plain terrain. So fluctuations in the gradient, it may be ascending gradient, it may be the descending gradient through which it is passing. Then corrosion of the rail, that is on the top side, and wear track. Okay, that is if there is loose packing of your ballast or loose fitting of your rails with the sleepers, it may occur the wear of that particular rail. So these are the few causes of the wear which is caused on the top or on the head side of your rail. Okay, as you can see in the picture also, I will use the pointer. Yes, on the top side, if you can see, this is the blur portion or the burr portion. Okay, this portion is got eroded. Okay, this is, we called it as the metal flow. Okay, means actually when you have installed this rail on a railway track, it is having some space. It is having some specific shape and size. But due to the rolling action, due to the rolling of action of your wheels continuously, what happens? This shape is not in the proper format. There is a wear of your top side of the rail. Okay, then wear at the end, if you are going to consider, that is at the bottom portion, this is due to the application of heavy load. Please understand it very carefully. At the bottom, this is due to the application of the heavy load. And at the sides, we know the reason. The flange section of your wheel and the side of your rail, they are in continuously contact with each other when the train is traveling or when it is in the rolling motion. So due to which there is a continuous, there may be chances of occurring of the wear on the side of this particular rail. Okay. Then on the curves, it is due to the slipping or the skidding, then effect of centrifugal force and improper super elevation and edging of the slippers. These are the main reasons of occurrence of the wear on a curved track. On a curved track. Okay. Then wear at the ends of the rail, as I told you, due to the action of the heavy load. That is the first reason. Then it occurs due to the wheel jumps over the gap. Okay, I think I have shown you that particular diagram also. See, this is one rail. This is another rail. Correct? Everyone knows the length of each rail is how much? It is 13 meters. So the two rails are get connected. Maybe they are going to connect it by welding or by any other method. They are going to connect it by electric arc welding, flash bolt welding. These are the few types of the welding which we are going to use it. Electric arc or flash bolt welding. Okay. So using these two methods, maybe they have joined these two rails together. But during this process, maybe it happens that the two rails are not at uniform level. The two rails are not at uniform level. See, you just imagine a small crack. In case of our railways, a small crack will lead to the major injury or major disaster to that particular. एक छोटासा जरी क्रॅक गेलेला असेल ना आणि त्याच्यावरनं जर तुमची ट्रेन पास झाली तर खूप मोठी हानी होऊ शकते. खूप म्हणजे खूप मोठ्या प्रमाणामध्ये. मग तुम्ही इमेजिन करा, जर तुमचे रेल जर युनिफॉर्म नसतील, एक रेल खाली आहे दुसरा रेल वरती आहे, कसं चालेल? नो. सो हे रिझन काय आहे? वियर ऍट द एंड्स ऑफ द रेल. हा जर जॉईंट तुमचा जर वीक असेल ना, डे स्टुडंट्स, हा जो काही जॉईंट तुम्ही केलेला आहे, इफ इट इज व्हेरी वीक, देन डेफिनेटली there may be chances of occurrence of some major accident. There are some chances of occurrence of the major accident in that particular case. Okay, so this is the wear which is occurred at the ends of the rail. Then at the sides, we know flange section of the wheel and the side of your rail. Due to the rolling action of the wheel, they are in continuous motion. Now, how can we prevent this wear? So we can replace the rail when wear exceeds by 5%. Okay, if the wear of that particular rail exceeds by more than 5%, we are going to replace that particular rails so that we can avoid the wear. Second, use of alloy steel in the points and crossings. So whenever there is points and crossings, what are the points and what are the crossings? We are going to discuss this part in our next PPT only, because that is the last part of this unit, that is unit number 1, points and crossings. So use of alloy steel in the points and crossings. So can you tell me, steel is a metal or it's an alloy? Anyone can give me the answer for this, whether the steel is a metal or it's an alloy? Very simple question I have asked it. Whether steel is a metal or it's an alloy. Check it and tell me, okay? And then how can we prevent the wear? By regular tightening of the fish bolts. So whenever there is a joint of the rails, okay, as you can see, this is the fish plate and fish bolts are here in the diagram. See the pointer, huh? Okay. So if you are going to tighten it regularly, because due to the continuous rolling action of the wheels on this particular rail, maybe that fish plate or the fish bolt connections, they are going to lose. Okay, they are going to lose at certain extent. So if we keep regular maintenance of these fish plates and fish bolts, we are going to tighten it on regular basis, then definitely we can prevent the wear. Definitely we can prevent the wear of that particular rail. So that is another technique. Then a reduction of the joints by welding. So as I told you, we are going to follow the electric arc method or flash butt welding method. Flash butt welding method. So these are the two most widely used methods for the railway welding, or whatever the two rails are there, we are going to weld it by using these two methods. Then good maintenance and correct adjusting of the sleepers or use of the bearing plates. So with that, we can prevent the wear which is going to happen. Then nextly, I think we have discussed this rail failures also. Okay, so if you are going to see this pointer, first one is horizontal feature, point A, sorry. It's all about the crushed head due to the heavy impact load or due to the loading action. There may be the head of the rail is get crushed out. Second, we can see angular or the square cracks. Okay. Now, recently, I will give you the current example. Near to Mumbai, on one of the railway track, the crack is there. Okay, the crack was formed, and it is that what can I say? Alertness of the driver. He has identified that something is missing. Okay, something is not good on this particular track. So when he has started to drive, so he has observed there are some cracks. Cracks are developed on a railway track. Okay, so immediately he has stopped it, and due to his alertness, the accident which can happen was okay, what we can say, he has saved a life of many people. Okay, because of his alertness. A single crack I am telling about, not the some major cracks you are going. A single crack also will lead to the major tragedy. Now, in case of angular or this square crack, you are going to see how the cracks are going to get. Okay, how these cracks are getting formed. First crack, second crack, third crack. So whether it's a good sign, can we take our train on this particular track? No, definitely not. There's third part, split head. That means the rail head is been split into the two different parts due to the cracks. The rail is been separated into the two different parts. It's like a split. Split means we are going to divide that part into two parts. Then split web. Whatever the web section is there, you are going to see the crack is developed and it has reached to the bolt holes. Whatever the holes we have made to fix up the fish plate, that due to these cracks are just going to meet that particular bolt holes. So this is nothing but the split of the web. The rail section is being divided into the web, two parts of the web, not the good side. Horizontal fissure, like some alligator cracks are there. Okay, and transverse crack along the transfer direction. So these are some pictures which will give you the idea about the rail failures in detail. Different types of the rail failures you can see. What are the reasons of this rail failure? It may be the defect in the manufacture. Whatever the rail track is there, whatever the composition of the steel is there. As I told you, carbon content is very important for us. Yield stress, elongation. So whatever the test you have already learned in the strength of material, like tension test of the metal, then elongation test, then compression, shear test, very much important. So if there is a defect in the manufacturing process itself, then definitely it will lead to the rail failure. Next reason, weak support at the rail ends. If the support is very weak at the rail ends, that means the two rails, they are going to rest upon one joint. The two rails which are welded together, they are going to rest upon one of the surface. We call it as the rail joint. Okay, so it may be the uniform, it may be in the staggered manner that rail joints are placed. Okay, bridge joints are there. So if the support is very weak at the rail end, again it will lead to the rate failures. Then cavity form during the manufacture or shrinkage of the metal. Then worn out fish plates or insufficient ballast. So this is very important reason. Okay, worn out of the fish plates or insufficient ballast packing under the joint sleepers. Everyone knows our rail, they are fixed to the sleepers, and sleepers, they are resting on your ballast. So if you have the insufficient ballast, the sleepers are get deformed into the subgraded soil. The sleepers are get deformed into the subgraded soil, and that will lead to the rail failures. Okay. Then slipping and skidding of the wheels. That is why I told you, my dear students, in my previous few sessions also. In railway, we are having the separate recruitment portal, RRB, we call it as railway recruitment book, through which every year they are going to recruit the engineers, and they are going to deal with the construction of the permanent ways. For civil engineers, we have to play a major role in the construction of the permanent ways. Permanent way म्हणजे काय रे? एक रेल्वे ट्रॅक जो आपण बघतो, ठीक आहे, बघितलेला आहे, तो ट्रॅक डिझाईन कसा करायचा, त्याचं एक्झिक्युशन करायचं, what type of material that we have to use, how we are going to execute it, and how can achieve the quality in that. So for the design execution of that permanent ways, there is a separate recruitment of the civil engineers through the RRB, that is Railway Recruitment Board. Okay. So construction of these sleepers or the construction of the rails, they are going to rest upon the sleepers. Sleepers again, they are going to rest upon the ballast. So if you have the insufficient ballast packing under the joints or of the sleepers, then definitely your rails are get failed. There are chances of the failure of the rails due to this reason. Then skidding and slipping will be the last reason for the same. Next, we are going to discuss the creep which is going to occur on the rail section. Correct. So what is the creep? It is nothing but the permanent deformation. It is nothing but the permanent deformation which is going to occur due to the action of the load. That is, it may be the wearing load with respect to the time. Now, in case of, this is the general definition we can use for highways and rest of the part. In case of the rails, what is the creep? It is defined as the longitudinal movement of the rails with respect to the sleepers in a track. It is the longitudinal movement along the length. Okay, it's the longitudinal movement of the rails with respect to the sleepers. In a given track. Okay. Now, why it is happened? It is happened due to the starting, accelerating, slowing down, or the stopping of the train. Then expansion and contraction of the rails, that is due to the temperature or unbalanced traffic. These are the few reasons of the creep which can occur. Okay. Here you can see the direction of the motion. That means the railway is flying in this direction, but creep, direction of creep along the length, that is along the longitudinal movement. Okay, with respect to the sleepers, that is nothing but the creep. Minor causes: alignment of the track, that is curve and the tangent. Grade of the track, type of the rails that is used, it may be double-headed or full-headed rails you are going to use. Then direction of the heaviest traffic in the one direction, poor maintenance, expansion and contraction of the rails due to the, okay. Now, effect of the creeps, what are the effect? Buckling of the track, that is the first effect. Okay. Then slippers, they get move out of the position. Rail joints get opened. So these are the few reasons. Okay. Now, how can we measure the creep? So for the measurement of the creep, we are having the creep indicator. We can use a creep indicator. One instrument is there. Okay. A chisel mark is made at an interval, that is at the side of the bottom of the flange of the rail. Okay. Then the two rails posts are fixed to the formation with their top levels flushing to the top of the sleeper. Just a minute, I will show the diagram. Maybe here it is there. No. Okay. So we're not going detail about this. I will take this diagram in our next, maybe unit number 3 is there. So there also we are going to deal with this. Okay, how the script is going to occur, not now. Okay, definition, you all are aware about it. Effects of the creep, that is buckling and all that, again you are aware about it. how the creep is occurred, what are the minor causes or the major causes of the occurrence of the creep. That part already we have discussed. Now let us take the next point, that is this point is nothing but the point which is contained beyond your syllabus. Rail joints. This part is not there in the syllabus, but this will be the content beyond the syllabus. And I am taking it little bit earlier because this part is related with the next part that we are going to discuss, that is points and the cross-sections. Okay, what are the rail joints? What are the rail joints? See, rail joints are the weakest part of your track. Rail joints are the weakest part of your track. The strength of the rail joint is only 50% of the strength of the rail. So what are the requirements of the rail joints? The two rail ends should be remain in true, that is in line. Okay, then the rail joints should be strong and stiff. They should provide the enough space for the expansion and for the contraction, that is due to the temperature effect. Then the two rail joints not allow the rail ends to get battered, and they are easily disconnected. Now, what are the different types of the rails you are going to see? See, first one is supported rail joint. Second one is suspended rail joints. Third one is bridge joint. Fourth one is base joint. Fifth one is welded rail joint, staggered, square, compressed, and expansion. Let us take with the diagram only. It is easy for you to understand these types of the rail joints. Okay. If you see the first diagram, supported rail joints. Supported. As the name indicates, the rails are supported with the sleepers. The rails are supported with the sleepers, and see the joint. This is the first rail and this is the second rail. Okay. So these two rails, the joint is there, but this joint is resting upon the sleeper. The joint is there, but this joint is exactly below the sleeper. Okay. They have provided the rail joint exactly below the sleeper. Okay, means sorry, exactly below the sleeper is there. I'm just use the word incorrect, so I will correct myself. Okay, this joint is exactly the sleeper is exactly below the part below your rail on which your sleeper is there. Okay, so here you are going to see first sleeper, second sleeper, third sleeper. See this location of the joint or the position of this joint. This joint is resting upon the sleeper. This joint is there, which is resting upon the sleeper. This joint is not provided anywhere in between the two sleepers. Huh? Supported rail joints are what? The supported rail joints are like this. Okay, the joints are not provided in between the two sleepers, but where the joints are provided, the joints are provided in such a way that the joints are resting upon the sleeper, as you can see in the diagram. Okay, supported. Second one, supported rail joints. As you can see again the same diagram. This is the first rail, this is the second rail, these are the three sleepers, and see the joint. See the pointer which I am scrolling. Yeah? See the joint. The joint is again resting upon the sleeper only. Then suspended rail joint. Next type you can see at the right hand side, suspended rail joint. See, this is first sleeper, second sleeper, but where the joint is there? The joint is not resting upon the sleeper. It is suspended in between the two sleepers. It is suspended in between the two sleepers. Okay, so this is sleeper number one, this is sleeper number two, and these are the two rails. Where the joint is provided, the joint is in between the two sleepers. So such type of the joint, we are going to call it as a suspended rail joint. आपण त्याला काय म्हणतोय? We called it as a suspended rail joint. Then next, you can see the bridge joint. Next diagram is about the bridge joint. How this bridge joint is there? As you can see, rail number one, rail number two, the joint is provided in between that. Sleeper number one, sleeper number two, and these two sleepers are get connected with a plate. These two sleepers are get connected with the plate in such a way that the joint is resting upon this particular plate. The joint is resting upon on this particular plate. So this is the third type of the joint. We called it as the bridge joint. Okay, bridge means we have connected the two sleepers. What we have done? We have connected the two sleepers, and the joint is just resting upon that particular connected plate or the connected bridge. So this is the third type, bridge joint. Next is the staggered rail joint. Next is nothing but the staggered rail joint. If you are going to see this track, see this rail is just traveling on a curve. Okay, the rail is just traveling on the curve. These are the two rails. This is the rail number 1. This is rail number 2. See the joints where they have provided. Joint number 1, joint number 2, joint number 3, joint number 4. They are exactly parallel to each other? No. These are placed in such a way that these are placed in the staggered manner. Staggered म्हणजे काय रे? Crisscross. ठीक आहे. First, if you see, एक विद्यार्थी जसं आपण सुरुवातीला at the beginning of this unlock period, when our offline lectures are started, we have made the arrangement in such a way that students are placed in the staggered manner. Means one student is set at the right hand side, while the next student, which is back to him, it's sit at the exactly left hand side. Again, right hand side, left hand side. So crisscross manner. Okay, like crisscross manner. So this we call it as the staggered joint. They are not parallel to each other. Okay, they are not parallel to each other. The square or the even rail joints, that means the two rail joints are parallel to each other. See, rail number 1 and 4, joint number 1 and 4, joint number 2 and 5, joint number 3 and 6. They are exactly similar. They are exactly parallel to each other. Okay, and placed same. Okay, exactly opposite direction. But here in the staggered joint, they are not placed exactly opposite. They are placed in the crisscross manner. Okay. Then comprise joint, next joint, comprise joint. The two rails are connected with a fish plate. The two rails are connected with a fish plate. Then bridge joint or the metal flat. As I told you, there are two sleepers and your joint is there, which is resting upon the bridge of the metal or the metal plate. We called it as the bridge joint or the metal flat. Okay. See, this is again very important diagram for you. You can see rail number 1, rail number 2. Here is the rail joint. Everyone can see this. Here is the rail joint. Then middle one is the insulator, and next is your fish plate or the fish plate. See this diagram very carefully. Rail number 1, rail number 2. Okay, these are the wooden sleepers. These are the wooden sleepers to which your rails is fixed. And see the two rail joints. This is the joint. This joint is there. It is fixed with the fish plates. These two rails are connected with the fish plates, as you can see in the diagram. Okay. Welding of the rails. Again, this will be the additional part for you. So to increase the length of the rail by joining the two or more rails, thus to reduce the number of joints, we are going to provide the welding. We are going to provide the welding. Another purpose, to build up the ward of points and the rails on the sharp curves. Okay. So what are the different methods of welding? As you can see in this diagram, these two rails are welded together. See the pointer. Huh? This is the first rail. This is the second rail. The two rails. The fish plate is also there. But see the rail joint. These two rails are welded together. So how they are going to weld it? See another diagram for your more information. The two rails are welded together. You can see this. So what are the different methods of the welding? As I told you, we are having the electric arc welding method. We are having flash butt welding method. We are having oxytalene welding method, and we are having thermite welding method. There are 4 methods of the welding. Okay, electric arc, then oxyacetylene welding method, flash butt welding method, and thermite welding method. So first diagram is for the electric arc welding. The two rails are there. Okay, then electron is there, flux coating, gas shield is there, and the molten metal. Means you are going to insert the metal. जसं आपण शोल्डरिंग करतो ना इलेक्ट्रिक मध्ये बघितलं असेल, जी वायर असते किंवा एखादा आयसी कट एखादा मशीनचा पार्ट असतो त्याला तुम्हाला ती वायर कनेक्ट करायची असते, तिथे तुम्ही शोल्डरिंग करता. शोल्डरिंग करताना ती शोल्डरिंगची तार तुम्ही यूज करता. तसंच इलेक्ट्रिक आर्क मेथड मध्ये आपण इलेक्ट्रॉन जो फ्लक्स कोटेड असणार आहे आणि एक मोल्डन मेटल, ठीक आहे, ते तुम्ही यूज करताय आणि त्यानंतर ते त्या दोन रेल्स तुम्ही कनेक्ट करताय, ठीक आहे. See, no one is going to ask you in detail about this method. This is just content beyond the syllabus, not the part of your syllabus, but still for your more information, I'm sharing this. Okay. I think this is all about the part of your unit number 1. Now we'll directly move towards the last point of this particular chapter, because your syllabus is constructed in such a way that it's a huge syllabus you have. Okay. And I'm going to share all the PPTs with you, so don't bother about the study material, PPTs, writing notes. Okay, handwritten notes are there. Then I have the IES Academy, S Academy notes are there with me, Medici notes are there with me. So you can take the advantage of that and you can have the good study for this particular subject. Okay, let us move towards the last point of this particular chapter. We called it as the points and crossing. My screen is visible to everyone, na? Points and crossing. Have you seen? Screen display, syllabus display, points and crossing. Sir. Can somebody respond me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so if my screen is visible, let us start the last point, last bit of this particular unit. Actually, this is the separate unit in your previous syllabus. Huh? If you just go through the previous syllabus of the transportation tube, points and crossing, this is your unit number 5. Okay, but now they have revised the syllabus and they have included this part in unit number 1 itself only. Okay, so actually it's a big chapter. So for your point, we are having just introductory part regarding this particular points and crossing. So let us start with that. What is the points and crossing? So to divert the train from one track to another, a special arrangement is made. To divert, to take the train from one track to other track, or to divert the train from one track to another track, a special arrangement is made. Okay. In such a way that the inside flange of the wheel, can move on the diverted track. Can move on the diverted track. Arrangement कशा पद्धतीने केलेली आहे रे? In such a way that the inside flange of the wheel section, okay, the flange of your wheel section can move or can take a diversion from one track to the other track. So such arrangement we called it as the points and crossing. तुम्हाला नेहमी हा प्रश्न पडतो की रेल्वे जे आहे आता रोडवरती आपण खूप इझिली डायव्हर्जन घेऊ शकतो, बरोबर आहे, वन लाईन टू अदर लाईन खूप इझी आहे आपल्यासाठी. पण रेल्वे ट्रॅक वरती कसं बघितलंय सर, एका ट्रॅकवरनं दुसऱ्या ट्रॅक वरती गेली रेल्वे, मग ज्यावेळेस हे डायव्हर्जन करायचं असतं त्या रेल्वेला फ्रॉम वन ट्रॅक टू अदर ट्रॅक, one arrangement is provided and we call that arrangement as the points and the crossings. So what is the necessity of the points and crossings? First necessity is regarding the flexibility of the movement by connecting one line to another. Second, weak kinks or the points in the track and imposing the restrictions of the movement or the turnouts. Okay, let us take the first point. What are the turnouts? A combination of points and crossings provides for diverting the train from one track to the branch track. We call it as the turnout. आता बघा, ज्यावेळेस तुम्ही गाडी चालवत असता खूप इझिली तुम्ही टर्न घेताय, तिथे तुम्हाला एका ट्रॅकवरनं दुसऱ्या ट्रॅकवरती जावं लागतं का रे? कदाचित नाही. एका लेनवरनं तुम्ही दुसऱ्या लेनवरती जाताय किंवा एका ट्रॅकवरनं दुसऱ्या ट्रॅकवरती जाणं खूप सोपं आहे, ठीक आहे. तसंच ट्रेनला जर टर्न घ्यायचा असेल, आता सपोज ते प्लॅटफॉर्म नंबर 1 ला आहे आणि त्याला प्लॅटफॉर्म नंबर 6 ला शिफ्ट करायचं आहे, ते ट्रेनला कसं करणार? त्यासाठी आपण काय करतोय, वी आर गोइंग टू यूज वन. Hello, and so you want to say something? Okay, so I will continue with my discussion. See, if you are interested to take the train from one track to other track, how you are going to take it? So for that, some special arrangement is provided to take the train from one track to other track, from platform number 1 to platform number 1, 2, 3, 4, any platform. Okay, so what that arrangement we called it as? We called it as the points and crossings. So combination of these points and crossings for providing, which is used for diverting the train from main branch to the sub branch, that is from one track to the sub track, you can use any word, we called it as a turnout. Okay, now this is the detailed picture of the turnout. I will zoom it out for you a little bit. सर्वांना दिसते diagram? Right hand, this is the right hand turnout. ह्यावरती कंपल्सरी तुम्हाला क्वेश्चन येणार in your university examination. Draw the cross section or draw the right hand turnout or the left hand turnout. Any diagram they will ask you, and you have to explain that turnout. बघा, आपल्याला तिथे किती गोष्टी सोप्या वाटतात की ट्रेन एका ट्रॅकवरनं दुसऱ्या ट्रॅकवरती जाते सर, पण ही कशी जाते त्यासाठी हे टर्नआउट्स असतात. त्यासाठी काय असतात, हे टर्नआउट्स ते यूज करतात. एक तर असतो राईट हँड टर्नआउट किंवा दे कॅन यूज द लेफ्ट हँड टर्नआउट. ठीक आहे, म्हणजे डाव्या बाजूला वळण्यासाठी दे कॅन यूज द लेफ्ट हँड टर्नआउट, उजव्या बाजूला वळण्यासाठी दे कॅन यूज द राईट हँड टर्नआउट. नाउ यू कॅन सी दिस इज युअर मेन ट्रॅक, सी द पॉइंटर. And if the train wants to take the turn like this, that is the right hand. Okay, so they can use this right hand turnout. They can use this right hand turnout. If you see the constituents of this right hand turnout, if you see the constituents of this right hand turnout, the first and very important point for you is the facing direction and the trailing direction. To know about the facing direction and the trailing direction. So if the train is coming like this, see the pointer. If the train is coming like this, so this will be the facing direction, and if it is going there, or maybe some train is coming from this direction, so this will be the facing direction. Okay, so first you want to know is about the facing direction or the trailing direction, whichever is there. Second, components at first I will tell you, then we will discuss about each component. Then next is throw of the switch, tongue rails. Okay, important point for us. Then throat, check rails, wing rails, then flare. Okay, then outer straight lead rail and inner core lead rails. So these are the some components of this particular turnout. Okay, let us take one. Yes, the diagram is there. Here you can see this is the right hand turnout. Actually it's a straight track. Now it is decided to take this front. It is decided to take the diversion towards this particular train. Okay, या ट्रेनला आता काय करायचं, टर्न घ्यायचा आहे. सरळ न जाता काय करायचं, वळायचं आहे. मग ती कशी वळणार आहे? So for that you can see this right hand turnout. Okay, in the diagram. This is the right hand turnout. As you can see, these are the component parts of this right hand turnout. Next you can see the left hand turnout, similar with the right hand. Dear students, make sure 100%, I'm telling about 100%, there will be question on this particular part. Either you have to draw the diagram of the right hand turnout or the left hand turnout, and you have to explain each component of this turnout. You have to explain each component. What is check rail? What is facing direction? What is trailing direction? What is main rail? Okay. What is throw of the switch? Everything you have to explain. What is tongue rail? So here you can see the diagram for the left hand turnouts. Okay, then parts of the turnout, let us take one by one. Set of the switches. Okay, set of the switches, a pair of stock rails or the pair of tongue rails, or a pair of heel blocks, several side gears, 2 more stitches, and a gauge plate. This is the set of switch. Okay, we are having the 2 stock rails, we are having the pair of tongue rails, we are having the pair of heel blocks, we are having the slide chairs, we are having the stretcher bars and the gauge tie. Then in the crossings, we are having the nose, a nose consisting of the point rail, splice rail, 2 wind rails, and 2 check rails. Then lead rails, we are having the 4 set of lead rails, as you can see in the right hand turnouts. Okay, inner curve lead rail, outer curve lead rail, outer straight lead rail, and inner straight lead rail. Okay, then we are having the end of the stock rails, throw of the switch, tongue rails, all these parts are there. Okay, so let us take the description of each part. एकदम व्यवस्थित समजून घ्यायचं आहे टर्नआउट. ठीक आहे, आता तुम्ही डायग्राम बघितलेली आहे टर्नआउट म्हणजे काय आहे, कशी आहे. ही डायग्राम तुम्हाला एक्झाम मध्ये ड्रॉ करायची आहे आणि प्रत्येक कंपोनेंट एक्सप्लेन करायचा आहे. प्रत्येक कंपोनेंट यू हॅव टू एक्सप्लेन इट. लेट अस टेक द डिस्कशन ऑफ each point. Component parts of the turnout, either it may be left hand or it may be the right hand. Okay, पहिला कंपोनेंट आहे पेअर ऑफ स्टॉक रेल. पहिला कंपोनेंट काय आहे, पेअर ऑफ स्टॉक रेल. हे तुम्ही डायग्राम बघू शकता. ठीक आहे, दिस इज द पेअर ऑफ द स्टॉक रेल. ठीक आहे, हा बघा ट्रॅक कसा डिझाईन केलेला आहे बघू शकता. इथे ही ट्रेन हा एक ट्रॅक होता. ठीक आहे, आणि इकडून एक ट्रॅक होता. पण आता काय झालं रे, पुढे जाऊन तो एकच ट्रॅक बनलेला आहे. इकडून कदाचित ट्रेन येऊ शकते, इकडून कदाचित येऊ शकते. ही ट्रेन डायव्हर्जन कसं घेणार, ही ट्रेन जी आहे ही डायव्हर्जन कसं घेणार. सो फॉर दॅट दे कॅन यूज द पेअर ऑफ स्टॉक रेल. काय फंक्शन आहे लक्षात ठेवा. इट इज द रनिंग रेल अगेन्स्ट विच द टंग रेल ऑपरेट्स. What is the stock rail? It's a pair of stock rail. It is the running rail against which the tongue rail operates. Okay, let us go back to the diagram. Stock rail, pair of stock rail. See, this is the stock rail. Here you can see the end of the stock rail. Okay, here you can see the end of the stock rail. आता हे स्टॉक रेल कुठे केलेले रे, काय मिनिंग त्यांनी दिलेलं आहे. द स्टॉक रेल इज इट इज द रनिंग रेल अगेन्स्ट विच द टंग रेल ऑपरेट्स. म्हणजे बघा, ज्यावेळेस तुम्हाला ह्या ट्रेनला डायव्हर्जन घ्यायचं होतं, डायव्हर्जन घेण्यापूर्वीचा शेवटचा पॉइंट काय आहे. ठीक आहे, इथपर्यंत इथून अशी ट्रेन आली. सी द पॉइंटर व्हेरी स्लोली विच आय एम स्क्रोलिंग. इथून अशी ट्रेन आली. त्यानंतर हे ट्रेनला either that train can go straight or the train can take diversion, so before taking the diversion, it is going to have the end point for this particular rail. हा जो बघताय ना तुम्ही एंड पॉइंट, हा बघा ह्या डायग्राम मध्ये हा काय रे, एंड पॉइंट आहे. इथून अशी ट्रेन आली, हा एंड पॉइंट झाला. यानंतर काय होणार आहे, ही ट्रेन इट कॅन डायव्हर्ट टू दिस पर्टिक्युलर ट्रॅक. The train can take the diversion to this particular track. Okay, so this is the pair of stock rail. Then pair of tongue rail. ठीक आहे, आता बघा हे जे तुम्हाला दाखवलं का टंग रेल, ही डायग्राम अजून तुम्हाला क्लिअर करेल. व्हॉट इज टंग रेल, पेअर ऑफ टंग रेल. अ टॅपर्ड रेल, टॅपर्ड हे बघा टॅपर्ड केलेली हे दिसते. टॅपर्ड हे बघा कशा पद्धतीने आहे टॅपर्ड. हा बघा टॅपर्ड पोर्शन आहे. This we call it as the tapered section. So a tapered rail having toe at one end and heel at other end, it is fixed at heel end. And can move or rotate about this particular point. See, बघा हे पॉइंट, ही डायग्राम तुम्हाला अजून क्लिअर करेल. एक ट्रेन आहे ती आयदर इकडून येईल किंवा इकडून येणार आहे. आता सपोज या ट्रेनने ठरवलं इकडून आली, त्याला असं टर्न घ्यायचा आहे. बघा हा तुमचा मेन स्टॉक रेल आहे, बरोबर. हा मेन ट्रॅक आहे तुमचा. पण ट्रेनला काय करायचं रे, डायव्हर्जन करायचं. मग डायव्हर्जन करण्यासाठी दे हॅव टू यूज द टंग रेल्स. ओके, मग ट्रेन अशी इथपर्यंत आली. काय बघा हे लेंथ ऑफ व्हील बेस आहे तुमचे. हे चाकं दिसत आहेत का. ठीक आहे, इथून ट्रेन अशी आली, त्यानंतर काय करणार आहे ट्रेन, इथं असं डायव्हर्जन घेणार, इथनं असं काय करणार आहे ते डायव्हर्जन घेणार. सो हा तुमचा मेन स्टॉक रेल आहे, हे तुमचं टंग रेल आहे. ठीक आहे, टंग रेल म्हणजे काय, टॅपर्ड रेल हॅव्हिंग द टो एंड ऍट वन अँड हिल ऍट द अदर एंड अँड इट इज फिक्स्ड ऍट द हिल एंड. हिल एंडला ते फिक्स असणार आहे. ठीक आहे, हा झाला त्याचा टो एंड, हा फ्री आहे. हा त्याचा झाला हिल एंड, हा फिक्स्ड आहे इथे. ठीक आहे, लक्षात घ्या. So it is fixed at the hill end and can move or rotate about this point. Can move or rotate about this particular point. तर मग अशा पद्धतीने ती ट्रेन डायव्हर्ट करणार आहे. ठीक आहे. Then two check rails we are having. बघा चेक रेल दिलेले असतात आपल्याकडे. हा बघा मेन स्टॉक रेल आहे आणि हे तिथे दिलेलं आहे चेक रेल. हे बघितले तुम्ही एखाद्या स्टेशन वरती ज्यावेळेस तुम्ही ट्रेननी ट्रॅव्हलिंग केलेलं असेल सर्वांनी, तर तुम्ही बघितलं असेल असे चेक रेल्स असतात आपल्याकडे. ठीक आहे, असे चेक रेल दिलेले असतात. चेक रेलचा पर्पज काय, द फंक्शन ऑफ दिस चेक रेल इज टू चेक द टेंडन्सी ऑफ द व्हील टू क्लाइंब ओव्हर द क्रॉसिंग. व्हॉट इज द फंक्शन ऑफ दिस चेक रेल्स, टू चेक रेल्स? The function of these rails is to check the tendency of the wheels to climb over the crossing. The tendency of the wheel to climb over the crossing. जी काय तुमचा मेन ट्रॅक असणार आहे, त्या ट्रॅक वरून आता काय करायचं, त्या ट्रेनला कुठेतरी डायव्हर्जन घ्यायचंय, लेफ्ट हँड साईडला असेल किंवा राईट हँड साईडला असेल. ज्यावेळेस या ट्रेनला डायव्हर्जन करायचं असेल त्यावेळेस ट्रेन ते काय करणार आहेत, रेल्स एका रेलवरनं दुसऱ्या रेलवरती ती येणार आहे, बरोबर आहे. युजिंग दिस टो रेल अँड दिस चेक रेल दे आर गोइंग टू टेक द डायव्हर्जन्स. हे तुम्ही इथे बघू शकता. ठीक आहे, सो टू आयडेंटिफाय द टेंडन्सी ऑफ द व्हील्स टू टेक द क्लाइंब म्हणजे उडी मारणे थोडक्यात. ओके, फ्रॉम वन रेल टू अदर रेल, एका रेलवरनं दुसऱ्या रेलवरती जाण्यासाठी. बघा तुम्ही ट्रेन जेव्हा स्टेशन जवळ येत असते, आपण प्लॅटफॉर्म चेंज करतो म्हणजे एका पॉईंट वरून दुसऱ्या पॉईंट, आणि त्यावेळेस तुम्हाला त्याचा आवाज पण फील होतो की ट्रेननी काय केलेलं आहे, डायव्हर्जन घेतलेलं आहे. त्याचा आवाज तुम्ही कदाचित फील केला असेल. ठीक आहे, की डायव्हर्जन घेताना वेगळा आवाज येतो. ठीक आहे, आणि ज्यावेळेस ट्रेन ट्रॅक वरनं रन करत असते त्यावेळेस त्याचा वेगळा आवाज असतो. ठीक आहे, सो टू check the tendency of the your rail, the function of this rail is to check the tendency of the wheels to climb over the crossing. म्हणजे ज्यावेळेस ही रेल्वेची चाकं एका ट्रॅक वरनं दुसऱ्या ट्रॅक वरती जातात, एका ट्रॅक वरनं दुसऱ्या ट्रॅक वरती जातात, त्याची टेंडन्सी आपण चेक करतो. त्यानंतर आहेत विंग रेल्स. So wing rails will help in channelizing the wheels in their proper routes. These wing rails will help in channelizing the wheels in their proper routes and direction meant for their movement. Okay, you can see the wing rails. So here is the wing rail. Okay, अशी ट्रेन आलेली आहे. ती ट्रेन कदाचित अशी जाणार आहे किंवा कदाचित म्हणजे हा जो तुमचा नोजिंग पॉइंट असतो ना, त्याला इथे कनेक्टिव्हिटी करण्यासाठी. हे बघा इथे विंग रेल, हा चेक रेल आहे समोरचा आणि हा आहे तुमचा विंग रेल. हा पाहताय तुम्ही इथे पॉइंटर्स, दिस इज युअर विंग रेल्स. ओके, दिस इज अगेन युअर विंग रेल, या पॉइंट पासून इकडे खाली. ओके, सो विंग रेल्स विल हेल्प इन चॅनलायझिंग द व्हील्स. This will help us in channelizing the wheels in their proper routes and the direction meant for their movement. These rails guide the wheel path for the movement of the rails. Okay, so this is the first point. That is about the turnouts, points and crossing, left hand turnout and right hand point turnouts. My dear students, we have just started it. Okay, we have just started to learn few components, as now it's exactly around 11. So due to this time restriction, I will stop here for this particular moment. Okay, and we will continue with the same part, same discussion once again. I will show the cross section once again. We will discuss the component parts again in our next upcoming session, and then we will start our unit number 2. Okay, then we will start our unit number 2. आजचा पॉइंट समजलाय का सर्वांना? जे काही पॉइंट्स आपण डिस्कशन केलेले आहेत, कुणाला काही शंका असल्यास विचारा. शीतल धोत्रे, प्रेरणा जाधव, श्रद्धा सरोसे, अंधसो, शीतल, प्रतिभा, शिवानी, क्षितिजा, सूरज, सर्वांना पॉइंट समजलाय का आजचा डिस्कस केलेला? येस और नो? काही शंका असल्यास तर विचारा. Anyone is having any doubt regarding the point that we have discussed today? Please do some response. Sheetal Bahirwade. अच्छा पॉइंट समझ है? भोसले वैष्णवी, सोनाली पाटिल, स्वप्निल भाई कट्टी. Any questions, any doubt regarding today's session? समजलंय का नाही हे तरी सांगा at least. Or you have just logged in. So I will mark everyone absent for our today's session. I will mark everyone up as absent. Because you are not responding. I don't know. My dear students, I have understood the today's point that we have discussed. Please do some response. Okay, thank you. I got one response at least. 2. Okay, good. 3. Very good. Okay, thank you for your response, which you have showed. Now we'll again continue with this point because this is very important. As I told you, in our previous syllabus or the older syllabus also, this is the single unit. Okay, it is not like that we will take this part and just 20 to 30 minutes we will wind it up. Okay, so in your syllabus it is there as an introductory part. Only headings they have mentioned like points and crossing, but still I will take one more extra lecture for this, just to give you the brief insights about the points and the crossing, how a train can take the diversion from one track to the other track. Okay, so we'll continue our discussion in our next upcoming session also whenever it is there. So before concluding this session, let me remind you today, tomorrow and after tomorrow, you are having the offline offline project presentations. Okay, so we come up with the synopsis or the part that you have prepared, the project work that you have done. You have to carry the presentation that is in PowerPoint format, and everyone attendance is mandatory for this presentation. Okay, because through this from this presentation we are directly starting our offline sessions. No online sessions will be there. Okay, because you have to give university examination in offline mode only. You have to give your ISCs, orals, project presentations, project OIVAs through offline mode only. So it's better that we'll start offline session now. And already we have started it, but your response is very less for the same. Now we are going to decide, yes, definitely we'll start to take only offline sessions. So again, I'm reminding my instructions. Tomorrow and after tomorrow, you are having the project presentations. Attendance is 100% mandatory, because if you remain absent, we will mark you as absent and you will get I think you don't get any marks for that. Because for the semester 2, the project is for 100 marks and your attendance is mandatory for it. Your overall performance is calculated for the same. So take a note of it and add accordingly. So thank you everyone. We will conclude this session at this particular point. Good day. Take care. Bye bye.